Welcome to Rita Seeks Romance, the #1 romance novel talk show on YouTube. Today's guest is best-selling historical romance author Bethany Bennett. Bethany discussed her Regency romance, West End Earl, Book 2 in her Misfits of Mayfair series. Bethany also chatted about pocket pizzles, going to the loo in Regency England, and her love of reading Regency romance at 9 years old. And Bethany played Match Game, Regency Edition. Enjoy, and be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Hi, Bethany. Welcome to Reader Seeks Romance.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Congratulations on the release of West End Earl, which is book 2 in Misfits of Mayfair. West End Earl is epic, and it's a Regency banquet. It is a meal and a half, because just when I thought, okay, well, this is the, where it's going, I'm like, oh, well, okay. Didn't really see that, or I did see that, but not quite in that way. It was a treat that kept on giving to me. It was like an endless treat. What is the overarching theme of your Misfits of Mayfair series?
I wanted to write about people who didn't really fit. I just identified with the idea of people in this world that I love, right? Regency England, that I've been reading about forever, but I wanted to make sure I was approaching it from a modern standpoint, modern sensibilities and things like that. But I wanted to have people that, like, for whatever reason, even if they appeared to be perfect, like, they were dealing with their own stuff and really adding a really heavy layer of humanity there. On the surface, it's about, it's a friends to lovers, and it's a girl in pants trope. I wanted to update the girl in pants trope. You end up with, like, you read some of the old ones and they're like rollicking good fun, right? But there are usually certain aspects of the girl in pants trope that are kind of staples of the genre that I didn't want to mess with and I didn't want to touch. I didn't want there to be a moment of gay panic. I didn't want there to be a moment of like where there's like a power play where it's like, I know your secret, but you don't know that I know your secret. So I'm gonna, like, I didn't want that. And so I really, really had fun with the idea of, she has been in disguise for over a decade. She's been impersonating her twin brother. And he is basically her best friend, but he's also her employer. And I made sure that I did the reveal where he finds out that she is a woman in disguise very early in the book. It's like the 20% mark. So it's actually very early in the book. It's her learning to be who she is. She's in a position to be able to cherry pick what aspects of 1820s femininity she wants to embrace and incorporate into who she's become as she's been living as a man. And then you have this guy Calvin, who is just, he's absolutely beautiful, and he's a total cinnamon roll. I mean, like, he's just a total cinnamon roll. And I kind of explain it in being like, some people have labeled it insta love, but honestly, it's because they were such good friends that once he added attraction to it and saw her, really, really saw her, he couldn't look away. And like, you're not going to have something that is just, blah, when you're already in so deep emotionally in another context.
Fee and Cal, as you said, it's a friends to lovers romance. And when we meet Fee, she's already hot for Cal. Mm-hmm. So you figure, okay, when that reveal comes about, it'll be an organic switch from, platonic to romantic. And that makes sense. Now, Cal didn't know, that she was a man. He just knows her as Adam, my best friends. And then when he realizes it's Fee, he rather quickly is able to, look at her in a different way and feel these yearnings. So I was wondering, as you were writing this, did you already have, how they have an actor's secret that helps them to like act? It's like, I know something about the background of the character that nobody else knows, and that helps me with the portrayal. I feel like there's also a writer's secret. So was your writer's secret that Cal was already a little bit in love with Adam? Was that just me looking into it, or because I feel like that helped him along quicker too with exploring, furthering their relationship?
Well, I wanted allyship to be really strong on the page. That was something that was very deliberately put there. And actually, I was talking to a friend of mine who is demisexual, and she said one line that it just clicked. And I went like, and so if there is like a writer's secret type of thing where like, I know it, but it's not actually written on the page, this is what it is. She said that as someone who's demisexual, she can be going along and she can be friends with someone and everything's fine and there's zero pants feelings and it's good. And then she goes, but something will happen. And she will go from where you're like, oh, this person's just a friend, to, oh my gosh, I can't look away. And you're like, and it if you were to write it, it kind of looks like insta love, right? But it's this mindset of, it's like, all I want to do is know everything about you. And you're like full in, right? And this was how she described it for her experience. And I went, that it just clicked. And I went, that's Calvin. That's absolutely Cal, where he wants to take care of everyone. He has such a big, open, giving heart. He does love everyone. He is totally, he has, he has no problem with, he talks about, knowing guys that he went to school with that were gay. And he was like, whole lot of not my business. And why is it about impact me anyway? You be happy. You're not hurting anyone. Like, right. Just be happy. And if that's your home, then that's your home. And so that mindset of seeing someone and not being able to look away.
Had you toyed with the idea of writing Fee as transgender or non-binary?
There was actually something that we had to really be careful of, because in my mind, she was always straight. But when you're writing a character, especially when you're dealing with girl in pants, you want to make sure that the way that you're writing it on the page is not exclusionary of the existence of trans people during the 19th century. This, like, transgender is not new. Okay. Anyone that thinks it's new is wrong. So simple as that. So I didn't at any point want her to be trans or non-binary, mainly because I am incredibly heterosexual, and like, I don't want to take someone else's story to tell that isn't necessarily my story. So that was an aspect of that. I don't know that lived existence. And so in the process of writing her, making sure that we weren't using trans exclusionary language, making sure like we had a sensitivity reader at the publishing house that actually was incredibly helpful on things like that. It was a great opportunity for me to understand the things that I didn't understand, for me to start like seeing some of the things that I didn't know, had never thought of, because I'd never had to think of them. So so this was actually a real learning experience.
Fee uses a wooden phallus that she has whittled, and she uses it to pretend that she is a man, and she can actually use it in the restroom. Did you come across pocket pizzles in your research? Is this your own invention? Because if this is your own invention, I think it's pretty brilliant. Did you create the pocket pizzle?
I did. But in actuality, you look at it and there's a modern device called a Shiwi, which is basically what it is. But I didn't start at the Shiwi. I actually started on a research binge of figuring out exactly how early in the English language they started using the word dildo. And I thought, which is surprisingly early is what I'm saying. So it's like 15th century.
Right.
Yeah. And so, like in that context and everything, like, okay, well, they made them out of stone. And then they would also make them out of wood, like just really highly polished and waxed. And I thought, well, if it's out of wood, why can't you just drill a hole through that? And because the problem is that, yes, there were chamber pots, but especially when they're outdoors, men would literally just like go into the trees and pee. I mean, right. And honestly, men didn't always even step behind privacy screens. I mean, we think about the Regency in the Victorian era being this like very rigid and uptight, you know, but in actuality, like the Regency era was, they were letting loose, and it was like the party time. And so they were very loose on things like bodily functions, you know. Yes, women would just go into the corner, and they had it like, it's mentioned in Any Rogue Will Do. Was it BOURDALOUE? Women would just stick it under their gowns and pee in public, like in church.
Wow.
On the pew.
Whoa.
Hold still while I just go to sit here and do my thing. And because like the services were hours and hours and hours long. And so the concept of being able to relieve yourself in public for a short stint, masquerading as a man, that's one thing, but she's been doing this for 10 years. She had to have found some way to pee standing up in public. She couldn't reliably in that time period have just always found a quiet place and a chamber pot. My first romance ever was a Regency, and it was an early engagement by METZGER. And I was in 4th grade.
You were in 4th grade. So what age would you say that is? 9 or?
About, yeah. 9? I was about 9.
Did you know what you were reading?
It was from a line of romances that was pretty chaste. Fawcett and Signet at the time. Their classic Regencies were very much, you know, fade black or flowery innuendo, you know. And I think that's probably why my mother didn't completely lose her shiz, like, because
So did you get it from her? Did you find it in your mom's library or? Okay.
Yeah. Yep. And then I was like, I want more of this. And so all of my money, all of my babysitting money, all of my, you know, we were living in the tropics at the time because military brat. And so typhoon season would whip through, and I would go and clean up yards and all of that, and then take all the money to the local used bookstore and just clean them out. I would look for the publisher's logo. I didn't read backs. I didn't follow authors. I didn't pay attention to any of that. I just looked for, because I knew that if it was Fawcett or if it was the Signet, I could read those. And I would just take a big bag or a box or whatever I had, and I would just go through and start with the A's and just tick them off the shelf and clean out everything that they had by those publishers.
Name a Regency cocktail you would want to try. Because I do notice there's a lot of alcoholic beverages. At least one is always mentioned in a Regency novel.
I don't even know how to say it. Is it orgeat?
I don't think I've ever come across that one. I came up with ratafaria. No, not ratafaria.
Is it ratafia?
I've come across that one, and I'm like, I can't.
Words are hard.
Yeah, I can't say it, and it sounds as if it might be good. Name a Regency dish or food that you would want to try.
I would actually love to try what their version of ices or ice cream was, because they had some really wild flavors that we would like Parmesan, like Parmesan ice cream. What?
Yeah, you know, I should have gone with that one because that is one that I've often thought about, but I put a flummery.
A flummery?
Because I've come across some flummeries, and it sounds like a rubbery good time in your mouth. I really think we're going to match on this. Okay. Your least favorite Jane Austen book?
Mansfield Park.
Mansfield Park. That's what there's only one that, yeah.
I've never met a person that was like, oh, that's my favorite of hers.
Best Mr. Darcy actor in a film or TV?
I love Colin Firth's the way that he played Darcy. And I went and watched the Keira Knightley version. And I think there are so many really, truly beautiful moments. The scene where they are in the little pagoda.
When it's raining?
Right? When it's raining,
yeah,
she's like ready to throw punches, right? She's like she's gonna kill the dude. And if you watch super close, where they're like doing like the eye contact, and it's almost, he barely whispers, please. And I'm like, panty drop. I mean, like, it's just unreal.
Now,
that moment was enough for me to doubt my loyalty to Colin Firth.
For this game, I wrote down Colin Firth because I thought it would match with you. I should have just gone with my heart instead of trying to win. Well, Bethany, this has been a wonderful delight. You have been so gracious to take time to join me here on Reader Seeks Romance. Thank you.
Thank you for having me. It has been wonderful.